evening and welcome to Spooky South Coast. Tim Weisberg here, along with Stephanie Burke and John Brightman. The silent assassin Matt Costa is directing from a bunker somewhere. And let's see, let's turn that on and make sure that that's on. Those are both on, right? Go ahead, just talk, make sure we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. And John,
yes.
You're on? Okay. All right, sometimes I don't hit the right buttons, but I'm looking and that says number 4 right on it. So I can't screw that up if it has the number right on it. And we are here to talk about the paranormal, as we are each and every Saturday night, getting a little bit of a later start tonight, but that's all right. Maybe we'll make it up on the back end. I don't know. I'm hungry, though. I haven't eaten, so.
I just had McDonald's
food.
on the way.
Did you really?
Yes. When you pulled up, I was eating it.
Seriously?
Yes.
I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, I went right to. I came here first, dropped some stuff off, and then I went right to wrestling, and then.
I'm
came
disappointed.
Here right
I thought you were going to have a match tonight.
Eventually, it'll happen. It'll have to happen eventually because the Thunder from Down Under, Michael Foster, got physical with me a couple of times, beat me down a couple of times.
Yep.
Got himself thrown out of House of Bricks Wrestling.
For good?
Oh yeah, he was thrown out. Like he's suspended. He's not supposed to be anywhere on the property. Still comes back and beats me down again. And so I missed the last show because I think we had an event or something or what have you. But I missed the last House of Bricks show of last year. I show up tonight, and the champion, the heavyweight champion, is some guy named Captain Australia, wearing a mask, but yet looking suspiciously like Michael Foster. Same gear, same shirt, same pants, same boots, same moves, same, everything. So I'm like, no, that's definitely Michael Foster. And he insists that he's Captain Australia, and he's a completely different wrestler. And
wow.
I'm not buying it, so we'll have to see what happens. So him and I got into it a little bit again tonight, and I'm going to keep my eye on him. I'm going to be having a talk with the House of Bricks Championship Committee, because if I can prove that that's Michael Foster, I will have him stripped of that title. There
you go.
Because he shouldn't be holding that belt if he's suspended from House of Bricks.
This is true.
Might I add that you look quite snazzy tonight?
Thank you. I was getting chance of get an iron from the crowd. I was getting chance of iron that suit.
Really?
Oh yeah, the suit was basically it was in a bag. I was like, I wonder what happened to my suit the last time that we did an evening of ghost stories and New England legends. Did I bring it to the dry cleaner and never pick it up? Because usually I don't. Usually I just come home and I throw it down, and then I'm like, I'll get that to the dry cleaner eventually, and then I'll hang it up in my closet. And then what ends up happening is I find out I need it, or it's a week before I need it again. And I'm like, I should probably bring that to the dry cleaner. And that's when I do it. So I was like, oh, gee, what did I do? Did I bring it to the dry cleaner? Did I leave it at the theater? Like, nobody called me to tell me I left it at the theater. So finally I found the bag, and sure enough, it was all rolled up in a ball.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the shirt, the jacket, the pants, everything, all rolled up in a ball. And I was like,
speaking of pants.
Let me air it out anyway.
Candace wants to know if you're wearing pants.
I am currently, but I might take them off because you said you were cold, and I'm warm.
I did. I'm freezing. I have a blanket on right now.
I'm very, very warm. And the only thing is I don't have any cereal to eat when I take my pants off like Candace does.
That's her thing? Yeah.
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 Well, we'll tell you later.
Listen, it's a long story.
Even if I tell you, I don't know if it'll make a difference.
No, probably not, but it's just a thing. You just gotta roll with it.
So tonight's show is going to be we have to tread very carefully with this topic because we're going to be talking about voodoo.
Right.
Because there's been some incidents that have happened locally over the past couple of weeks. We talked about one of them last week. And if you remember, if you listened to last week's show, I know I have to get the podcasts up, don't remind me. But if you listened to last week's show, you know that there was a crime that happened here a couple of weeks ago. The women were just arrested last week, prior to last week's show, in which they were two sisters that were supposedly voodoo practitioners, that a friend of theirs had a child who she felt, 5-year-old girl, that she felt was possessed by some kind of a demon. So she brought her to these two women that she knows, and basically the mother, the daughter, and the 8-year-old son all moved in with them while they were conducting these rituals, kind of 24 hours a day on this girl. And they burned her by blowing fire in her face, and she has 3rd-degree burns on her face. She'll be permanently disfigured. They threatened to cut the brother's head off. They pushed things against the brother's throat and choked him. They rubbed some sort of weird plant mixture on him. At one point, they told the brother that they were punishing him because he wanted to have sex with girls. This is an 8-year-old kid.
Okay.
And when they're disfiguring the 5-year-old, trying to get this demon out of her. Every once in a while, you hear a weird story like this, and then it goes away, and okay, it's probably just somebody's mental illness playing out. But it didn't sit right with me because it's one thing if you say somebody's mentally ill, but there's 3 adults. 3. I was holding up 5. There's 3 adults involved in this. There's the mother of the children.
Right.
And 2 sisters. So you can't tell me that all 3 of them
are mentally ill,
are suffering from some sort of delusional tendencies. I mean, there's something at work there. Even if it's the matter of, one of them has kind of made the other 2 think that this stuff is real or whatever, what have you. There might be some sort of hysteria going on, but there's 3 adults involved in this situation. So I didn't sit right with me, but I'm like, okay, fine. It'll be another 5 years before we hear about anything voodoo related. It didn't take long because Monday, the story broke that there was a murder in Brockton.
Right.
That 2 young children were murdered. And they were ages 5 and 8. They didn't say what gender they were. They just said a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. And it hit me in the gut when I heard that because I said, oh my God, I hope it wasn't those kids.
Yeah.
And so I texted Taylor, the news director here, and I said, I get a bad feeling that this is somehow related to that thing that happened last week. And he's like, no, those kids were those kids were in Bridgewater. Like, it doesn't matter. They could be staying with family in Brockton.
Yep.
They could be in a foster home or something, that they could be in Brockton. And he's like, no, I wouldn't worry about it. It's probably, not related. It's a tragedy, but it's probably not related. And then the story comes out that the mother had admitted to stabbing them. Mm-hmm. Well, that's odd because why would a mother, first of all, I believe she had a 3rd child home with her. Mm-hmm. So why would she have stabbed 2 of the children, not the 3rd? I mean, not that we want to see another person die, but still, it just doesn't seem right.
Doesn't make sense.
So it seemed odd to me. And then, sure enough, they arraign her the next morning, and she's telling them that it was a voodoo ritual gone wrong. Mm-hmm. And that her family was saying she had practiced voodoo in the past, but she was also obsessed with the Illuminati and was looking at all these conspiracy websites and all things like that. So I start to wonder, like, okay, we have 2 voodoo cases now within a week of each other. And I mean, I know,
and within not even 10 miles of one another.
No, one town next to the other.
Next town over.
So I know you and I were talking, and I chose not to dive into this because as a parent, it makes me sick to my stomach. And I just figured there's enough going on in my life right now that I couldn't bring myself to read into it. But I figured, I'll wait till we're on the air tonight and get all the facts. And obviously I know coming from you, they're correct because you work the news. Did you ever find out if these 2 cases are related?
From all of the people, I mean, I went through everything that I could to find out if these women knew each other at all in any way, whether it be the 2 sisters that were arrested for the abuse, whether it be the mother of the 2 children that left them with the voodoo practitioners, and the family and even the extended family of the woman who killed her 2 children. I'm trying to find any connections that I can, Googling their names together, social media connections, anything, seeing if they have any similar. And what's weird about it is the mother involved with the mother whose 2 kids were part of last week's case, the 2 sisters, and the mother who stabbed her children. Those 4 women, not one of them have a Facebook profile or on Twitter.
Really?
I couldn't find them on Instagram. I mean, maybe they do, but not under their regular name. Mm-hmm. A lot of people will have like their first and middle name as their Facebook name. So, but even going into some of the Facebook groups, like the Brockton groups and things like that, people didn't know, they couldn't find any kind of presence for these people online.
Not only that, too, most of the time, the media itself will search out. I mean, like, you remember when Baby Doe happened in Boston Harbor? Was that last year or the year before?
I think the year before.
Poor little Bella, who was 2 years old, who was murdered by her mother. This baby went unnamed, undiscovered for months. And when she was finally identified by the neighbors, the media had plastered her Facebook page all over the place. The mother's Facebook page, videos, personal pictures,
really?
Everything. Yes. As soon as it came out, the media, like big time, like national news had plastered her Facebook page and all of her personal information everywhere. So the fact that that hasn't happened yet, maybe they don't have Facebook pages, but maybe they're running from something. Maybe
I couldn't find anything, and we only have a few minutes here before we go to the news, and we're going to be joined by an actual voodoo practitioner in the next hour who can give us a little bit more insight. Probably not into the local voodoo scene, but maybe from this area originally, I guess, or has been in this area in the past. And it's Sen Moise.
I believe so.
And so we will talk with him coming up. But there have been other cases of voodoo in the area. And I have some stories here that we can kind of delve into as we go through the course of the show. But there have been other voodoo cases.
And locally?
Locally.
Like super local.
This is cases in the Brockton area that have involved voodoo. So we have, of course, LaTarsha Sanders, who stabbed her 2 children last week. The 2 East Bridgewater women. Voodoo scare tactics used on Brockton woman before she was murdered. That was in 2014. We have Brockton teen pulls trigger after neighbor casts voodoo spell. That was in 2013. And woman waves machete while chanting, "I do voodoo." That was in 2013. That was in Middleborough.
So,
I mean, that doesn't mean any of these cases are actually involving real voodoo at all.
Right. But how about the 2 recent cases? Have we narrowed it down to a type of voodoo? Is it, any particular ethnic background?
The problem is, from what I can understand, there is Haitian background in all 3 women.
All right.
But the problem is the investigators who are investigating this are probably dismissing the voodoo angle altogether and aren't even paying attention to it. I tried reaching out to DA Timothy Cruz's office. I tried reaching out to some people I know in law enforcement in that area just to say, is there any more to this? Is there any more connections here that you are investigating? It's okay if you want to say, like, we aren't commenting on that because it is an active investigation.
Right.
But at least acknowledge the fact that there may be some sort of correlation there. But we will be joined in just a few moments after the news by Sen Moise. We will talk with him about this, basically about how people bastardize and co-opt this religion for their own nefarious purposes, and that voodoo at its core would not really involve killing your children. Now there are some sects and some beliefs where they will actually do that, and we can get into some of that stuff and more. I mean, I've been talking to everybody that I know that's an expert on cult activity, that's an expert in religious activity, just to try to get some sort of connections here. So we'll try to piece some of this together, and at the end of the night, we might not be any closer to figuring out any answers, but at least we can answer some of our own questions, if that makes sense.
Well, I know Sen Moise is actually an expert, and I don't want to get his title incorrect, but I'm sure that you have it, in Haitian voodoo. And I met him, and so did you, in Sleepy Hollow in October. It was actually our friend Crystal Madison who linked us up with him. To do this show. So I'm looking forward to talking to him. I know in the brief time that we had speaking with him, he was very knowledgeable. Very down to earth.
Great guy.
He was funny, intelligent, and we had a great time talking to him.
We'll talk to him in just a few minutes with more Spooky South Coast.